Welcome to the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Thursday, July 6th. Over the next few days, we'll have very similar conditions across the Great Basin with gusty winds and dry conditions over southern areas where fuels are critical and isolated thunderstorms over northern areas where we continue to see moisture linger for, again, thunderstorm activity. These thunderstorms will be a mix of wet and dry, mostly on the wetter side with higher humidity, but the rainfall amount certainly will vary depending on the strength of the storms. We could have some additional moisture as we move through Friday and Saturday, especially as we go up towards Idaho this weekend. Precipitation has been very light with very isolated thunderstorms yesterday. We will likely see that lightning activity pick up a little bit over the next few days, certainly a little bit of an increase from what we saw yesterday. Great Basin fire activity was light with 17 new fires reported. We did have a new fire on the west side of the basin on Forest Service land above 6,000 or 7,000 feet in the PJ, so definitely things are drying out across the Great Basin, and we continue to see more initial attack fires each day. However, still no significant concerns with the growth of these fires. Over the last 7 to 14 days, we've had precipitation mainly over the northern half of the geographic area with isolated to scattered thunderstorm activity. Still, moisture has been spotty, so moisture overall has been near or below normal. In the north, we do have some pockets of above normal where some of those heavier thunderstorms have set up. Otherwise, still very dry conditions continue over the southern half of the Great Basin. Looking at our 100-hour fuel moistures from this morning, you can see they are definitely dropping across the Great Basin. And yesterday, along the Sierra front, where we did see that new fire, 100-hour fuel moistures have now dropped to near normal. Further south, they are dropping below normal and eventually will likely hit historic lows here in the coming days or weeks as conditions continue to warm and dry. Satellite loop from this morning shows a trough of low pressure in the northwest. This is what will continue to generate our gusty winds along with the heat over the southern areas of the Great Basin. Otherwise, high pressure in the southwest is dominating southern areas, so again, that will keep the south dry and keep this moisture trapped into northern areas where you see the cloud cover this morning. Is where we'll see those isolated thunderstorms develop this afternoon. Look at our weather pattern for later today. Again, more of the same with that trough in the northwest, gusty winds, very dry conditions down south, and a little bit of moisture up north for thunderstorms. Our significant fire potential map will continue to change by the day. As conditions warm and dry, we'll see more areas of yellow and brown on the map and spreading northward as we go through the weekend into early next week. Relative humidity will remain in the single digits down south and into the teens up north. Those gusty winds will be gusting between 30 and 40 miles per hour today over southern areas, which matches up with the dry conditions and the critical fuels, so we do have high risk for those southern areas yet again today. As we move into Friday, more of the same. We do have those higher risks that spreads a little bit further north as those winds increase further north into western Utah. So gusty winds, dry conditions will continue to increase fire potential in those areas. Otherwise, more of the same with possibly an increase in thunderstorm coverage going into Friday in the north. Relative humidity very similar to today with single digits down south and teens up in western and northern areas. Again, the wind picture very similar. We could see those gustier winds more in the Arizona Strip and southeast Utah on Friday, but still breezy elsewhere and extending a little bit further north with some gusts in the 20s and 30s up into western Utah. We'll also see some breezy conditions late in the afternoon along the Sierra front, both today and tomorrow, with gusts in the 20 to 30 mile per hour range. Nothing critical, but again, at least breezy in the afternoons if we do happen to get any other starts in those areas. On Saturday, the dryness spreads a little bit further north, pushing the lightning activity more into central Idaho and Wyoming. So we will see drier conditions up into northern Nevada and Utah, and you will see the dryness levels respond to that. Otherwise, gusty winds and low humidity will continue in the south, so another day of high risk on Saturday. Relative humidity, very similar to the next couple of days. Winds will be dropping off a little bit on Saturday, so not quite as gusty as what we'll see today or tomorrow. More gusts around 30 miles per hour, but still kept that high risk in. It doesn't look like we have any days that won't really see some breezy winds down south for the next several days. 3-day precipitation, very spotty and very light associated with any thunderstorm activity up north. And as we move into Sunday, we will again still have a trough off the west coast, keeping those breezy winds down south, and the dryness continues to spread further north. So again, a little bit more yellow on our map up into Idaho, and still continued high risk in the far south. By Monday, we still could have another day of high risk, but we'll wait and see in the far south. Again, another breezy day expected in the south. Otherwise, continued drying over northern Nevada and Utah up into Idaho. And then similar conditions on Tuesday. We'll likely lose much of our thunderstorm activity going into early next week as this dryness really spreads north across all of the Great Basin. Temperatures will remain near to above normal across the Great Basin, so hot temperatures and low relative humidities. Similar conditions on Wednesday, maybe not quite as much dryness, but still enough to keep thunderstorm activity at a minimum and relative humidities in the single digits to low teens. No big changes in the 7-day total precip, as much of the thunderstorms will happen here in the next few days. And then the 8 to 14-day outlook from July 13th through the 19th still shows warm and dry conditions heading into the third week in July. Right now, there are no signs of the monsoon pushing any moisture into the Great Basin through the third week in July. So we'll see how that changes, but right now, definitely looking at warmer and drier conditions for the next few weeks. That concludes our webcast for today. Check back tomorrow for the latest updates.